Bible reading this week included the books of 1st and 2nd Peter. Now, the Bible leaves little doubt as to who the author of these letters was. It's clear from the very opening verses that it was none other than the Apostle Peter himself. Now, he wrote these letters around 62 to 64 CE, a time in which the kingdom preaching work was greatly expanded in the Roman Empire. And encouraging as this was for our early brothers and sisters, we know that this was a time of persecution for them, because as this group expanded, there were some misunderstandings that arose with just who this small but zealous group was. Now, under divine inspiration in Babylon, Peter wrote his first letter, encouraging the Christians to stand firm and counseling them on how to conduct themselves under the rulers of their time. Now, this letter proved to be really most timely for them, considering the storm of persecution that would break out almost immediately thereafter. Now, much of the focus of the first letter revolves around maintaining fine conduct among the worldly rulers of that time period, the rulers of the nations, or the worldly system all around them. How they could continue to rejoice as Christians, despite the suffering that they experience, much as we do today in this wicked system. We benefit, much as the early congregation did, from considering the inspired words found in these books. At a time when trials and persecutions were flaring up, Peter's words proved strengthening, and today we find his letters also a source of encouragement to strengthen ourselves against the trials that we face. Notice the words found at 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 4. It says there, "They are puzzled that you do not continue running with them in the same decadent course of debauchery, so they speak abusively of you." But now, glance down, same chapter 4, to verse 19. "So then, let those who are suffering in harmony with the will of God keep on entrusting themselves to a faithful Creator while they are doing good." Yes, as the end of this system of things draws close, we need to be sound in mind, be prayerful, and have intense love for one another, doing all things for God's glory. As trials burn among us, we shouldn't be puzzled, but we rejoice as we too are sharers in the sufferings of the Christ. When Peter composed his second letter, he realized that he was soon to face death. And although we aren't exactly sure from where he wrote that letter, we are sure of one thing. He was thinking about his brothers and sisters during that time period. At this late point in his life, Peter was very concerned that his fellow brothers and sisters, those early Christians, would remember the importance of accurate knowledge and how this knowledge would prove as a help to them to maintain their steadfastness in the ministry. The Apostle Peter wrote his first letter to give encouragement and an earnest witness that the true, undeserved kindness of God would be known. He urged the brothers at 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 12 to stand firm. And we take comfort in the words that he penned in 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 13, where it says that there are a new heavens and a new earth that we are awaiting according to his promise, and in these righteousness is to dwell. How important it really is to exert oneself and be assured in the precious and very grand promises of our God Jehovah. So it is that Peter exhorts those early anointed Christians, and really us by extension, to keep our eyes fixed firmly on the kingdom goal, because as we are all the more diligent, for if we keep doing these things, we will by no means ever fail. And just as towards the conclusion of the book of 2 Peter brings out, we keep close in mind the day of Jehovah, a time when we can enjoy the fulfillment of Jehovah's grand promises and really enjoy an everlasting life with which we can show our appreciation to him for all that he does for us. We can turn our attention now to our audience participation part of this program. We have some commenters, and we'll first call on Brother Lavins.
Even though most of the world shows a disobedient spirit toward Jehovah God, 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 9 shows that he's allowed enough time for all of us to come to know him, and still he shows patience to us every day, even though we're imperfect. So this helps me to not only want to imitate Jehovah's view of those who have yet to come to know him, but I also want to use the time left to really work on myself through my goals and decisions to show Jehovah that the patience he's shown and will continue to show me is something I truly appreciate about him.
Thank you for that heartfelt comment, Brother Lapis. Brother Mendes.
At 2 Peter 2:11, the angels refrain from accusing the false teachers out of respect for Jehovah and his role as judge. We can learn from this because there may be a situation we feel isn't being handled properly in the congregation, but like the angels, we need to have respect and faith that Jesus is the head of the congregation and that Jehovah will set matters straight, provide discipline or direction in his own way and time.
Thank you, Brother Mendes. Sister Pulowski.
I found 1 Peter 3:19 and 20 interesting, where it tells us that Jesus preached to the spirits in prison. Verse 20 identifies these spirits as the disobedient angels from Noah's day, but the preaching was not of the good news like we normally think of, but because Jesus had proved himself faithful and loyal under all tests, even to death, and then was resurrected. At that point, he had the basis for a preaching of judgment against these angels, which will ultimately end with their destruction, along with Satan and all other disobedient spirits.
Thank you, Sister Pulowski. Sister Tower, please.
I appreciated 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, because it's a great reminder for Christian wives in showing proper regard for her husband's headship. In being submissive, we want to adorn ourselves with a quiet and mild spirit, which requires a dominant feeling of calmness and an even temper. We look to and strive to imitate the example of Abraham's wife Sarah, whose heart moved her to manifest proper subjection to her husbandly head.
Thank you. And Sister Hoyt.
We understand that only Jehovah knows all the details around how future prophecies are to be fulfilled, and this has always been the case. But it's interesting in 1 Peter 1:12 how it shows us that even the angels peer into the deeper things, the spiritual truths. So as we get closer to the end, it's exciting to know that all of Jehovah's worshipers, whether on heaven or on earth, that we're all looking forward to seeing the light getting brighter and brighter and to watch how Jehovah's will take place.
It certainly is. Brother Boyle.
1 Peter 4:6 speaks of the good news being declared to the dead. And we can see how some would think that this would be the good news being preached to those who are literally dead. But the 11/15/2008 Watchtower comments that the dead being spoken of here are those who are dead in their trespasses and sins, or who were spiritually dead before they heard the good news. And then after putting faith in the good news, they began to live spiritually.
Thank you. Let's have Brother Serrano.
We know that accurate knowledge of the truth leads to everlasting life. But in 2 Peter chapter 1:5-8, Peter helps us to further appreciate the need to exert earnest effort, and that's by building our faith, self-control, endurance, godly devotion, brotherly affection, and love. Because without these, we could become inactive or unfruitful before God.
Thank you. Brother Boyle. Ethan.
In 2 Peter 2:4, it mentions a place called Tartarus. And research helps us to understand that this Tartarus is not to be mistaken for the pagan mythology Tartarus, or the abyss that Satan will be in, to marking the start of the 1,000-year reign, but it's the prison where rebellious angels were put into in the day of Noah by Jehovah, stripping them of their heavenly place and privileges.
Yes, thank you. Sister Gilkey, please.
1 Peter 5:6 and 7 tells us when we throw our anxieties upon Jehovah, he helps to keep giving us true worship, making it our priority in our life instead of being unduly concerned about what the next day may bring.
Thank you, Sister Gilkey. Brother Santamon.
At 1 Peter 4:10, the gift of Jehovah's Holy Spirit helps us to cultivate love, goodness, and mildness. And along with our energy, abilities, and talents, allows us to responsibly distribute various forms of Jehovah's undeserved kindness. So regularly visiting and praying with depressed ones, writing thoughtful letters of encouragement, and searching for gems to comment on to motivate the congregation to enjoy are some ways I can be a fine steward for Jehovah.
Yes, thank you for that personal application. Sister Fosber.
1 Peter 1:7, Peter reminds us that Jehovah puts such a high value on us individually that he allows our faith and obedience to be tested to reveal the depth of love and faith we already have. And so that I can make the quality of my faith even more precious, it's important that I pay attention to how I react to trials and to take the opportunity now to correct weaknesses that may be revealed.
Yes, thank you, Sister Fosberg. Let's have Brother Fosberg.
I appreciated 2 Peter chapter 3, 7, 10, and 12. talked about the destruction of the earth. Many people we talk to reason that means that the earth is going to be destroyed. But in verses, we see there's a comparison made in verses 5 and 6 where it shows there was a similar destruction back in the time of Noah, where the earth wasn't destroyed, only ungodly human society was. So we really want to make sure that we're alert to how we conduct ourselves so that we can be part of that new earthly society that makes it through into the new world.
Thank you all for your heartfelt comments.